Love, love alone, caused King Edward to leave his throne. Love, love alone, caused King Edward to leave his throne. Love, love alone, love alone. Take my money, take my throne. Please leave me with my wife alone. Love alone, my brother, asking Edward. Love alone, asking Edward. Take my sheep, take my goat, leave me with my fishing boat. Leave me love, love alone, caused King Edward to leave the throne. Love, love alone, caused King Edward to leave him the
A man get a shock the other day. It really make his mind go astray. All the money he's saving a pan. He sent his girlfriend with to England. I wonder why woman wicked so. Another take man make papi show. Come on, man, let's fight for all right. And not make them frighten you with tonight. Well, the girl I know understand. Met a boyfriend up in England. And she now decide to buy the ring. But she say him can't do the thing. I wonder why woman wicked so. And I will take man make party show. Come on, man, let's fight for right. And not make them frighten you with tonight. This is the sweetest part of the joke. All the poor man do is sell can coke. And that man would give her his life and all. And decide to gamble yet and fall. I wonder why woman wicked so. And all the take man make papi show. Come on, man, let's fight for right. And don't make them frighten you with tonight. What a way a woman can get chance, and all them can do is jump and prance. If my girl we go to England, me and her have to go hand in hand. I wonder why woman wicked so, and all the take man make papi show. Come on, man, let's fight for right, and not make them fight you with tonight.
love, love alone. Cause King Edward to leave the throne. It's love, love alone. Cause King Edward to leave the throne. I know King Edward was noble and great, but his love would cause him to abdicate. It's love alone. Cause King Edward to leave the throne. I know my mommy, she gonna grieve. You say I cannot help, but I'm bound to leave. It's love alone. Cause King Edward to leave the throne. And he got the money and he got the talk and the fancy walk just to suit New York. It's love alone. Cause King Edward to leave the throne. You can take me throne, you can take me crown. Believe me, Miss Simpson to renown. He says love alone. Cause King Edward to leave the throne. I come a roll upon my mind. I cannot leave Miss Simpson behind. It's love alone. Cause King Edward to leave the throne. If a plane on a ship don't carry me free, I'll walk with Miss Simpson across the sea. It's love alone. Cause King Edward to leave the throne. On the 10th of December, you heard the talk when he gave the throne to the Duke of York. It's love alone. Cause King Edward to leave the throne. Then Baldwin water break down the stand. He say, come to me, you American. It's love alone. Cause King Edward to leave the throne. Then Baldwin surely break down the stand. He say, I'm giving up it by government. It's love alone. Cause King Edward to leave the throne. Now he's the victim of circumstance. Now they live in the south of France. It's love alone. Cause King Edward to leave the throne. If you see Mrs. Simpson across the street, you can guarantee she's a busy bee. It is love alone. Cause King Edward to leave the throne. Let the organ roll, let the church bell ring. He say good luck to our second bachelor king. It's love alone. Cause King Edward to leave the throne.
Oh dear. I think I forgot what mic I was using. All right, that's better. Very, very cool. Wow, what was that, like 6 minutes of music? Hopefully I don't have to end up muting that later. So, great evening to anybody that may be watching this. I don't know if Cheryl and Wins are still around, but God bless you and great to see you if you are. And if you're not, God bless you also. But if you're not, then I'm going to sit here and talk to myself while I play video games and record it and put it out to the public, because why not? Might be fun. So I'm going to be doing part 2 of Dwarf Fortress. And the Dwarf Fortress game, designed about 2002. It's just been released recently on Steam, so it's been in development for quite a while. It's sort of a predecessor of a lot of colony building games. Let's see if I can get this thing shared up on here right about now. I'm going to turn the audio up a bit on this. The audio was kind of funky before. We'll see how that goes. Excuse me. So yeah, I haven't touched the game since last time I played it and filmed it on here. So let's see, we're gonna continue an active game. The world is called Domain of Prophecies, otherwise known as Udon Akath in the dwarf language. So let's enter the histories of jealousy and tenacity. Our fortress is paper polished, That is such a lame name. I almost want to redo the entire game just because that name is so lame. Yeah, take care, brother. Lord willing, I'll see you Thursday. Let me test my... Yeah, I can hear me. Good. Okay, so we're in the 10th of Galena, late summer, the year 454. Going into the fortress of Paperpolished. So I barely remember. I think I just got some immigrants in. Immigration. It didn't happen too much in my last game. If I'm recalling, I think I only have like 12 dwarfs still after like, what was that, like 3 hours of playing? That's taking a lot of load. It's because there's a lot of stuff that's happened in the 524 years. All right, so here we are. So let's do a quick review. I'm gonna press the button that gets me the original surface spot where we started. And if I should, so it doesn't look too good, but what can I say? Yeah, whatever. You have a giant ball of light above my head. So anyway, the entranceway to our place, single door still, going into this silt, which is tough. But I don't think there's any creature that can really smash through gates, and even if they're dirt, or even if the walls are dirt at this point. So let's see. We have our original storage area that I had built out. Oh yeah, so I had uncharacteristically built a second exit way because I recently started, I think in my last game, having some problems with the caravans coming in, getting attacked, freaking out, and then all the stuff stays there, and then I have to steal it technically from the people, and then the nation or whatever that the caravan came from ends up hating me. So I read if you put a 3-thing wide area that the caravan can go into. So right there, the caravan, this is like floating one level above that. The caravan would come here, and then they would go in there, and they'd be underground, so they're less likely of being attacked. Because in my last game, there were all these birds that were attacking them. It was bizarre. So that's where the caravan will come. And again, if we look at the big world map, and again, there's one of these generated for each new game. Well, I mean, you can generate a new one, or you can continue to play multiple fortresses in the same world that you create. And again, the whole world, like the nations in it, are completely randomly generated between like human, elves, goblins, and dwarfs. And there's mods where you can play other races, but generally you're just the dwarfs. And my fort's right here. This little area, does it let me zoom in? I don't think so. Yeah, so there's huge war happening. We're at war with these guys. That's my civilization. So I'm kind of off in the middle of nowhere. So, but yeah, the other caravans would come in from these different lands. And I'd be buying stuff. So yeah, storage. At this point, this is just general storage up here. Although now that I have cave fungus growing, I can bring all these animals down here where I once had them pasturing out there. Then we have a small farm, which is just enough. Yeah, I think I have 10 dwarfs so far. So I think something I was doing or not doing last time seemed to have been preventing me from getting immigration. Not sure why though. So the farm is just simply building some mushrooms. I don't think I have... Oh yeah, kitchen's building... So I haven't researched much the food system here, but I know the kitchen builds either fine meals, great meals, or lavish meals, or something like that. Rendering fat too. That's for soap making. So I think it's just a matter of how many ingredients are used, and then the more ingredients used, the better it'll affect the dwarf's mood. Which you want happy dwarfs, and then happy dwarfs, and then they work better, etc. Like right here, and they cook literally everything: pigtail seed biscuits. Like you'll find like cow brain rice. It's just any random type of animal part it can find if you have them in the right category, basically. And let's see. Over here we have, all right, so we've been building some rock statues. So I built some statues for decoration, some thrones. Some thrones are just chairs or stools, actually. Rock tables. I'm putting everything out of rock instead of stone or instead of wood. But you have to build beds out of, or no, you have to build, beds out of wood though. An animal was giving birth to a foal. So one thing I do want to do is make sure that foal is set to stay down there and eat. Otherwise, they will starve to death. Yeah, that is good. What's been happening here? I canceled some. That was just information about stuff. Whether cleared. Yeah, I found there's a way you can edit the. I didn't mod it, but there's a way you can edit what. There's a whole announcement file. So if you look at the find a file, it's a text file. It determines what announcements are shown. I mean, you can literally make an announcement for every single possible thing. Let me just unpause it, just so it's not. Yeah. So they're farming. Yeah, they grow the mushrooms for the food and also for most importantly, the beer or the alcohol, whatever beer they're making. Or wine rather. So I made the rest of it pretty deep, as deep as I could, actually. Yeah, we'd already like, pretty much as deep as the first caverns, which I have not explored. I haven't really explored caverns much yet playing this game, period. So just the first little section of our fortress. This is going to be the meeting area and the tavern. That's right. I want to make another meeting area. Now it's coming back to me what I was doing here. So yeah, there's our tavern, and then we have offices for this person. What is this? Oops, I want to remove them. I think that's the manager. And then this is the office for this dude who is the bookkeeper. Yeah. Actually, no, this is she's the expedition leader. Yeah, so our dwarves. So yeah, in the game, the dwarves basically automatically run around and do their own thing. Like you can't control them. I can't make any dwarf do anything. They're all set to autopilot like lemmings, but they have inner needs of what they are and inner personalities on how they react to things. So it's going down another level. I have a little bedroom happening for my original 7. Although I don't think that worked out because I forgot to actually make them bedrooms. So I think my original 7 didn't grab the bedrooms in time before the other ones came in. Because here's Udil, the bookkeeper, and he has one all the way down here. So I'm not going to worry about that. Although maybe I will. Because the original idea I had was my original 7 dwarfs to have a little bit better bedrooms. There we go. That guy's probably praying or whatever. I made a generic kind of shrine Yeah, the problem is now if I wanted to situate that, yeah, so here's what this dwarf, sort of all of the record of what they're feeling and doing. Yeah, dogs and cats running around. But yeah, I'm thinking if I want to get them to switch bedrooms, I think it's just going to be too much effort. I mean, I could just kick the one out, and then you can actually assign specific dwarfs to bedrooms. You know what? Yeah, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to remove that. It's not your bedroom anymore. But I need to make sure none of these are not my original dwarfs. And I can't really remember who my original dwarfs are since the new ones came in. Although it's not too hard to tell. I know he's not. The peasant is certainly not. The leader, the fisher dwarf. I don't think the bowyer is either. So yeah, so as long as I don't have the duck or hammer dwarf or the peasant up here, expedition leader should go here, which she is. Just because it's a not that the room is any better. But yeah, there's Urbad. So I think that's everyone just kicked out of them. Yeah. Looks like we're good. Oh, okay, situation solved. I believe. Woodworker. Fisher dwarf. No, peasant. Move this side. Peasant doesn't get anything. The bowyer. Yeah, not the bowyer either. The bookkeeper is going to get that area. All right, now our original 7 dwarfs now are assigned. Okay, that wasn't too bad. So yeah, extra bedrooms, and that's it for right now. That's as far as I've built. Oh, wait, no. There's got to be workshops. Where are my workshops? I can't remember. Oh, yeah, I think I put a separate... oh, man. I know there's got to be a workshop somewhere. Building... Oh, man. Let's go back up. I need to start assigning some hotkeys to these areas. So there's the original area where I'm storing a whole bunch of wine, which I presume that means my tavern is full. Where its storage is. Yeah, good. Yeah, we still have a lot of dwarfs yet. And I need to stop pausing it. Because I have it slowed down so much. I might speed it up just a bit for the sake of stuff happening. So if I go to settings, because by default, these guys are like everything is happening so fast. I put it down super slow just because I could like put it on and walk away and like just let it run. Kind of like a Digipets, only dwarfs. Stays on in the background. What is it? Frames per rate. So I have it on 30. The default's like 100. So I'm gonna put it on about 60. I don't know why. Just should have made it 70 or 77. Dwarfs like the number 7. Why? Oh, turn again. Okay. So yeah, now they're going a little bit faster. I mean, I could speed up super fast. Okay, so we got some dwarf stringing. Yeah, and that dude, he asked to join from the outside. So he's got some. So yeah, the next thing I'm going to have to do, aside from find out where I put my workshops. Oh, there they are. Okay, I went down too far. That's a really nasty workshop happening. Yeah, because all this stuff was like, let's just get something going. So I suppose this time would be used to try to arrange this stuff better. At this point, we have carpenter's workshop. These are just the essentials: carpenter, stone workers, and craftsmen. The craftsmen are building, or should be building. Yeah, I might as well just have them working consistently. But we just have them build, because you can build specific things or crafts generically. Just tell them what to make it out of. So if I tell it just make, let's see, there's bone crafts. It's going to be, might as well use the stone since we're never going to have a shortage of stone. Oops, where are we going? ST, is it stone or rock? Rock. We already have enough mugs, pretty sure. I can check, but for now, I'm just going to set it to the, where is it, crafts. So rock crafts, 10 of those. You know what? Let's just make it. Oops, where's the change rock crafts at? Change the number. There we go. Because we're, well, you know what? Let's just do it perpetually. So this work order just doesn't even make a difference because I can just do it from here. So that work order is there for 10. I'm just going to delete that. And we can go here and do new tasks. Same thing, rock crafts. There it is. And then just hit perpetual for the, because eventually a caravan is going to show up and you're going to want to have something to sell. And something else that I'm glad I remember is I'm going to make a separate storage area just for crafts, just for rock crafts. That means I got to turn off rock crafts for everything else. How easy is that going to be? Maybe I should rethink that. Because it's kind of a I'm trying to keep the stockpiles organized. I mean, right now I basically have everything that can possibly be made by anything here just getting dumped here for the sake of just getting it done. But at this point now, we have the luxury of. Now, you know what? This is very interesting. Because I don't remember. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay, I don't remember why this has happened. I mean, I must have just dug out this area generically without checking. And, okay, that's a problem. This can't be. This is, I mean, this fortress is just going to get wiped out. Because, and there's I just saw a creature. Here's some elk birds. These things are hideous. I don't think they're. I mean, I'm not thinking they're overtly hostile. Otherwise, I'm sure they would have already come here and started running up the steps and just slaughtering everybody. Yeah. So we're not in the deepest depths, so that's why there's not like. I mean, I assume that. You know, there's not going to be like giant. I mean, it's still dangerous in any case. I need to build a wall. That's what I'm jittering on about. So that's going to be. We're just going to do that. And then we're going to put a door. And we're going to make that out of whatever's. What do we got? It's closer. They're all pretty much the same. What is this? Gypsum. See, different rocks have different properties that you can use for different things. Once we start getting into the smithing and mining, or smithing and smelting and that sort of thing. But at this point, yeah, I just need to. Right, let me stop pausing it. But see, it's pausing. It's kind of cheating at this point now. Although it's because I made everything happen so fast. But I really need to, yeah, gypsum. I don't remember if that's wall material. So let's see. Wall. Let's, what are we going to do? Right up there. No, it's not. So whatever. Just use mudstone. This is rough. So yeah, I wonder why it doesn't want to. So yeah, the other property must be that. Oh, there it says. You can use. You can build furniture with it. So yeah, I could look that up. I would look that up at any other point, but I don't want to do it now. Let's see what the different, like what specifically, like I know they have different properties, but if it's that cut and dry, just some certain rocks you can only use for walls. The ones you can use for walls you are not like gypsum, where you can use for. Well, it says building. Maybe I just wasn't looking hard enough. I don't know. Whatever. Let's build a door right here. Oh, I don't have any doors. All right, one of these guys, stoneworker, build a door, rock door. Matter of fact, I am going to build a work order for a stone rock door. At this point, I'm just going to go crazy with some work orders. Work order. So he's building a rock door. Let's see. We're going to have another. I'm just going to do 10s. I did have statues. There isn't going to be any room to store any of this stuff. Coffers. That's the one. And this one's going to build a stone. So we got door, coffer. I saw we already have some cabinets, but we'll need new cabinets eventually anyway. Tables are always good to have. And chairs too. Let's just build some tables for now. And I need to find something to do with all this other stuff we've since done. But the door is the most important, actually. All right, so where are we building a door? Because on the door, I'm going to make that a priority. That way we can block that off right quick. And that's right, I was going to make a section just for crafts. And the crafts, by the way, are for, going to specifically be for the trade caravans. So I'm thinking about making them up near the upper storage area, but you know what? I'm not going to do that because the person finishing the craft, I don't want them to have to walk too far to do it. I'm going to do that. This might be a pain. Let's see. So we're going to do finished goods. What kind of finished goods? It's just going to be stone, really. Other materials. Well, yeah, I guess that's good enough. Because I don't think furniture is included in that. Yeah, no. Should I remove all the stone stuff? Yeah, for now, let's just keep it like that. We do need some boxes, which we already got there. That way we can. Let me just turn off autosave. I don't know. Let's see how long it takes. Otherwise, I'll leave autosave on. Just set the save every hour. Maybe it's good to be reminded. So I'm going to build. So the only thing I have that can use wood is the carpenter. The carpenter uses will build beds out of wood, and also you can build boxes out of wood. I don't know if there's a stone version of a box, like the type of box that you can store stuff in. There might be though, because there's stone versions of most things. I know there's stone versions of like a wooden bucket, that sort of thing. So let's see, carpenter's workshop. We're gonna want that to the bin. That's what I was thinking of. Like if there's a stone version of the bin, but for now I'm just gonna build. I'm gonna build like, whatever, 10 bins. That's fine. That's making a door. The other thing's making a door. That's crafting. I only want to, so I need to remove crafts from this. So finished goods. So that's like all. So right here is where I actually make my selection. So I actually want amulets, bracelets, crowns, earrings, figurines. This is all the stuff I need to go back and make sure that. So yeah, this is where we go. Because these are the crafts. I don't think flasks are included there. Matter of fact, flasks I want anyway. Although I don't like, flasks mess the. You know what? Flasks are bugged. Nobody's storing flasks anywhere. Last I remember. Or you know what? Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Whatever. Goblets are fine. We want to get rid of what we consider to be crafts that we can sell. Totems, toys, I think. Well, we don't have any children around here. Rings, definitely. The gems. We're going to keep the gems. Headwear, blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, backpacks were the things that were bugged. You know what? Wow, I really don't remember. I know there was something bugged where you do the backpacks or the flasks. When you build armies, which I'm going to have to do at some point, or build little, like, basically army units that you can set to attack and guard, stand guard different places. There's one section that was really bugged out. Anyway, all right, so I've done that. That's set. I think there's like a okay. Just go out of it. Now here, if I go in here again, now where I was just at, so I am keeping the amulets. I'm not going to store anything like armor, blah, change, codices, crutches, flasks. So I did keep the flasks over there. Footwear, handwear, goblets, headwear, gems, legwear, musical instruments, quivers. We still got rings, scepters, tools, splints. Okay, so that's it for that, and that's it for that. You know what? I do want to put goblets over there. We'll put goblets in both places, whatever. That's fine. Now, let me double check. Can we double check? Did I keep? Quivers, scepters, splints, rings. I thought I saw something that I didn't want. Scepters. Yeah, because scepters are crafting stuff. Okay. Now, should use a bin. Okay, good. Alrighty. We got that going on for that. Very. Oh, no. What was that? All right. See, I just paused it. Cheating. Some kind of creature. This thing. What is this? Crundle. I don't know what this thing is. It's terrified. It has an amazing memory. This little thing that was just came over and it looked and it sort of ran away. Despairs of anything positive happening. And I don't even know if this thing is sentient. I mean, it says this for cats. It doesn't have any values or preferences or needs. So I'm going to assume it's not sentient. It's just some kind of, it's walking on upright. Personality. Oh, I just look at that. Relationships, groups. I don't know anything about this thing. I just know I need to put a door here to make sure that thing stays over there. All right, you see bats flying around from over here. All right, where's the doors? Door. Put the door. All right, they're gonna build a door, and that problem is solved because I accidentally was stupid and just indiscriminately started digging and opened up a chasm to the nether regions. So the dwarfs, I could send the dwarfs now to go, and this means that they can go down. And if they go, this is like a downward incline. So this is going down one level, and now I would have a dwarf get here, and then a dwarf can go down another level, and let's see how far they could get. Level 37. Well, it's pretty maze-like, but so yeah, that area down there is the only section where I messed up and actually had them going off into it. So, there's still areas to explore and all that stuff, which I'm not really there yet. I'm not trying to get there yet at this point. So what do we got? We got the dry season has come. It's early autumn now. Weather is cleared up. We got some food and drink. We got population are relatively happy. And let's see, all that stuff. Discovered in more caverns. Oh yeah, obviously. That's what we're looking at. And so I need to find something to do with all these limestone cabins. I just built them. All right, I need to stop the tables. I just noticed I've already have like a lot of tables. We're gonna need some chairs with those tables. So let's have another set of thrones being built. Oops. All right, so place to build the statues. See, I could get all crazy with it because with the statues, so I could tell it what to build. I can build a statue of a specific dwarf, and then it pertaining to a specific scene or pertaining to a specific event. So, like, or whatever. If the dwarf gets bitten by the cat, you, or if you just let it go, it'll randomly choose that, and it'll say the dwarf. You painted a statue of the dwarf fighting the cat in battle with the feline. It's pretty silly. Not sure how. Right, I'm just gonna unpause. That thing looks like it's running away anyway. Not that pausing it would. There's so many bats over there. All right, so someone's got to go and put a door there. There we go. Good. Okay, so I'm just going to close that off. Forbidden. It's the forbidden door. Hopefully nobody's over there. Oh, look, crafts are now being put. We got little. This is a fairly crafted bauxite figurine of Leacock Meatingham. That's the pet. That's one of our dwarfs. The item is he's surrounded by dwarfs. Oh, yeah, I guess that's because he just showed up. The artwork relates to the ascension of the dwarf Leacock Meatingham to the position of, King of Everlasting Pillars, and 447. Oh, that's not our guy then. That's the king of our civilization. We have a guy named Leacock, don't we? Yeah, this guy. All right, I thought it was talking about this peasant. Whoops. And I already put some statues in our little bar here. I think I'm not sure because I started the bar. Well, I've done that before. As far as starting the bar as the area. Because when you create these things, it's fun. I could just keep digging and make it. Dude, there's a bunch of these. What are they doing? Are they going to try to? Well, they can't get through. I doubt they're going to be able to figure out how to get through the door. There's a giant bat. Oh, there's all kind of crazy stuff down there. So I'm glad I don't have it explored. I was going to make this a meeting area, so might as well just tell the dwarfs to smooth this out now. Smoothing stuff out makes the place more desirable to be in. We need to start getting some bins in there. Outpost liaison Eshtan Okengareth from Iluzobrock, which that's the name of the dwarf name of my civilization, has arrived. Although it is a grim reminder of the winter hardships to come, the supply caravan from the Ever-Seeing Pillars is a welcome sight. This is the first one I've got since this game started. I must have kept it paused a lot last time. Well, then again, I do have the thing turned down like super slow, the time, which I just turned up. Their eyes are alight with the anticipation. So the caravan just arrived. Their eyes are alight with anticipation of inspecting the splendid products of your industrious craft dwarfs. Well, we got a couple dolls of the king, and take careful stock of your own stores. What these merchants offer might very well be the difference between a prosperous future and a slow and meaningless death. All right. Let's see what else we got here. We got This is a well-crafted shell figurine of Zemesi Hail-Flickered. The item is a well-designed image of Zemesi Hail-Flickered and the wolf. So there's a wolf named that in shell by whoever made it, the guy, my dwarf that made it, of him laboring. Settling of the wolf. So yeah, very much random events that have happened within the course of this game's world. We got rings. So yeah, I don't really, except for, we don't have a lot to sell. Well, I suppose I could sell some of these friggin' tables and statues. See what these guys even have. Or if they even can get to my area. Hopefully they can. Oops, did I pause it? Caravan's got to get in here. hopefully that's not a problem. Or I have to pull out more. There should be plenty of room. Well, if I go down here, we can. These are all the dwarfs in my fortress. And then I can look over here at my all the pets and livestock and others. So others, there's that crundle thing, that giant bat that I saw. An iguana is around here somewhere. There's an iguana right there. Okay. And then it should also show where the caravans are. Oh, there's Eshtan, the outpost person along. So the outpost liaison will come from your. They're probably gonna make me like once you get big enough, they'll make you a village. Right now, I'm just an outpost because I just came along. I built this place, on behalf of your dwarf civilization, and now that I've gotten, well, I still only have 10 dwarfs, so maybe I don't know what they're probably just gonna say, hey, don't die, and then leave. But let's see where they're at. Oh, have they come down here already? So they usually show up with the caravan. Okay, here they are. They've already come in. So so they're in my office. So they've come in. So they're kind of separate from the caravan. I mean, they're with it, but they're separate. They came with it anyway. And now, so you see there, I need a bookshelf in that office. That office is really plain. So they're at a meeting. You can look at conduct meeting. So they're conducting a meeting, attend a meeting. So to find out what that is, I gotta click here. Expedition leader, Destot Moralik, which that's our chick, meets with the outpost liaison Ishtan Okengareth. He says, I am your liaison from the mountain homes. Let's discuss your situation. Okay. There's much to share. Information added to civilization, world info, which is all this stuff. And what's amazing is while the time is passing in my game, all of this other stuff you can see is all having its own little stuff happen. And the major events, I could actually click and see what major events are actually going on. Just going to, let me find an example. News and rumors. You can also, you can raid all of these things and perform different actions against them or with them. I'm trying to remember, how do I actually see there's news and rumors. And there's a part where you can actually, it'll show like a whole, whatever. But it'll basically go there. If like somebody commits a raid on somebody, it'll tell you. All right. Make requests for next year's caravan. So since they will send you, so there's other caravans, like there'll be like a human and an elf caravan, but your own like home civilization will send one too, and you can tell them, you can make requests, but by requesting it makes it more expensive, but it also guarantees that you'll get it. Early on, I don't really care about much as far as requesting. I mean, later on, I usually request a lot of leather. Although, I mean, I usually end up with surplus, but leather's usually super cheap. But basically, so I always have a supply of leather and cloth to make like cloaks, shoes, gloves, like every different type of clothing that the dwarfs want. But usually early on, I usually just ask for musical instruments. If I'm not mistaken. Or do I ask for cages too? No, I usually just get cages if I see them. But I usually just select like every musical instrument, because to make them is fairly complicated, and I haven't really messed with it yet. I started to make them, like you have to create each different piece, figure out what each piece does. So then they say, all right, and then And then they will buy for more trade value, crutches, and large gems. So I assume that means cut gems. Yeah, I need to make a jeweler too, because I do have a good deal of gems which are not cut right now. So okay, yeah, so yeah, they didn't make me a village or anything like that. I'm still just a lowly outpost. All right, so they're still technically at their pause now. So where is the trade caravan? Can they find this? Or am I not trading this year? Or I guess I could just build one right on the there they are. The merchants have arrived and are unloading their goods. All right. So I have broker request it. So what kind of stuff can I try? I have one amulet. That's ridiculous. Oh, that's here right now. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, because I don't have they haven't put anything in the boxes yet, or the bins rather. Let's see. This bin contains all this stuff, all these mugs. See, this is where I'm kind of I kind of messed up, because I should have put if I wanted to sell the mugs. So right now, if it's in these bins, you can only select it by bin. So unless I want to sell every single one of these, including, I don't want to get rid of the quivers. I don't want to get rid of all these mugs. So, but whatever, I need to keep my mugs anyway. Same thing. Well, I could sell this one and lose that one quiver. Let's do that, just in case I need it. Like I said, I don't think I'm going to be buying much. All this cloth I don't want to get rid of. So here's some gems. They're not cut. I'll move them there. I mean, I don't have to sell them at this point. This is just telling them to move the boxes over to the caravans or those bins. Same thing with this one crown, this one amulet, because these are loose because they're not in a bin yet. I could sell barrels of wine. I have so much of that, but I can mess with that right now. Extra beds, extra doors, earrings. Get rid of that. Figurines. There's those figurines I was looking at. Sell those. You know what? Let's just get rid of that fish. I don't want the fish. Oh, now here's some loose goblets. Let's put those on the market. We have all those other ones. Rings, statues. Ooh, do we want to sell the statues? I mean, at this point, well, no. That's a lot of tables. Thrones. Well, we can tell them to move stuff later. 20 items is quite enough. So some dwarfs will start carrying stuff over there along with our broker. Yeah, you can actually see the, I guess that's their stuff, and here's our stuff over on this side. All right, merchants arrive. We can get rid of that. Outpost liaison, we can get rid of that. It's raining, get rid of that. Which means the dwarfs outside, they're going to get upset. All right, we're still awaiting 9 items. All right, so we just got our farm processing. We got some, let me double check our labor kitchen seeds. I want to make sure we're not using seeds and stuff for cooking. I mean, yeah. So we're not using plump helmets for cooking. I'm still not sure what we're using for food, though. Like, what are we using for food right now? It says we have 61 food. If that means the plump helmets, well, that says 42. What else does it mean? The seeds? I think it does. So I'm not. The problem is I'm telling it not to use the helmet, so I think we have less food than Although because we don't have a lot of dwarfs, I think we have the potential of starving real quick. So I'm going to build some more farms up here. Yeah, look at that thing. A lungfish. This whole storage area here, I was making it for rocks. That's kind of where so what is this? This is all mudstone. Can I actually build a farm over on this? Where should I build the farm? This is rocks. Let's try it. I don't have the luxury of, well, do I? I can dig this whole area out. So here's where I'm kind of like, I want to keep my farms close together, but I build one right here. So it's kind of like, if I got a storage, let's see, workshop, farm plot. Will it let me? Well, all right, actually, let's get rid of that storage. Just get rid of that. Repaint. We're going to erase that storage. I don't think that's, well, no, is that rocks? Mudstone. How much of it is actually mudstone? Because it doesn't, it needs to look like this. It needs to be the actual silt, loam, cavern floor. It needs to be dirt to plant the farmland on. So I think I might actually need to do something else here. Well, you know what? See, I could just dig all this out. It doesn't really matter. I just get to keep it somewhat unified a little bit. But let me just compromise with myself. We're going to make a corridor right here. Oops. So we're going to dig this out. And then I'm going to dig this out. That's going to be a little bit new farm area just for its own type of stuff. And same way with over here. Oops. I'm not sure what yet. I want just variety. I want a little bit more variety. At some point, I'm going to slaughter. Should I slaughter an animal yet? I usually don't slaughter animals. I'm not starving yet. So let's see what we got. We've already got a kitchen, which is in our farming area, and here's all of our workshops we can build. We already got the still. The butcher is for making hides and doing the stuff with the tanner is what you do after. So because all of these workshops, one thing leads into the other. You butcher the animal, then you get the leather. You get the leather, and you have a tanner, and you have a tanner, and later on you build a leather worker. So there's all these different. And the leather worker needs tan leather. Fishery, which I think I built a fishery outside. So I really do need fish. I could just have somebody go build fish. So yeah, there's our kitchen. Now the farmer processes livestock, etc. Do I have one of those? And that spins thread. I'm going to build a farmer now. Matter of fact, since this is my little compromise, this whole area I'm going to dig out and make it a kind of a farm workshop area. So let's do this. We'll still keep a little wall there. We'll dig that out, and we're going to dig that out. I don't know why I would do it, just for aesthetics, even though this is just hideous looking. Moss and fungus everywhere. All right, so let me re-extend this. Accept. All right. Wow, so what should I concentrate on next? Well, this game is just so concentrating on one thing is just impossible. All right, so I have that smoothed out. I was going to make that into some kind of gathering hall for the moment. I kind of want to test and see if they gather there, even though there's nothing there, as opposed to gathering in the tavern. Because again, when you generate the tavern, you can start it from being a meeting area and then upgrade it to a tavern, or you can do the same thing with a dining hall and upgrade that to a tavern. I upgraded the dining hall to a tavern. So does that mean it doesn't count as a meeting hall at all? But and then is a meeting hall separate than a tavern for them to like because they still socialize in the tavern. So that's why I'm thinking no, meeting hall is just kind of doesn't matter. So yeah, so they're smoothing that thing out. Already. Oh, wait, what is that now? That is a meeting hall. So are they actually meeting here? No. Well, I mean, right now they're smoothing it out, so no, they're not. I also wanted to finish smoothing out those gems. We'll keep that there. Leave the gems just lodged into their wall. Not going to worry about the hallway. We'll do those for the next people. I think we need more doors. We need a lot more doors. We have all these tables, and we have nowhere to really put the tables. I was going to just inundate the tavern with the tables, or build a library or something. Because I don't have a lot of dwarfs yet to really justify expanding the tavern so much. There's not really much on that regard. Wow, this is a real tight area. So I'm going to dig out a new space on this side, just in case there's any dwarfs that don't have anything to do. And then maybe start branching some. So yeah, this is, I don't have anything in mind for this. This is just going to be scatterbrained. I mean, it's not going to be, I mean, I haven't played this in a while, but this is obviously the accumulated effort of just my experience so far. I mean, and the fact of like, okay, I know we have a workshop area. Workshop areas are usually pretty nasty. Matter of fact, let me expand this. And our gathering area, our sleeping area, stuff with the bins. I don't know why they're not making bins. Am I out of wood? I think I'm out of wood. Alert. There's an alert happening. Merchants will be leaving. Oh, I forgot all about my merchants. Broker requested. Where's my... Hey, what's going on? I do not have a broker. Oh, well, gee. All right, so let's definitely pause that. I don't have a broker. Where's our administrator's broker? Expedition leader will serve as a broker, or let's see, skilled appraiser or adequate. I think Kibish will be a competent negotiator. Appraiser would be good. Yeah, let them do that. All right, so yeah, get up there. And, oh, I didn't even realize that. That's so bad. Yeah, otherwise, well, it's not that important. But it looks like they have a piano, or whatever the dwarfs call a piano, for sale. Get up there as soon as that trade fills out. Let's see what else we got. The weather's cleared, blah, blah, blah. Merchants are leaving soon. Did they get there yet? There are no merchants trading. Oh, they're gone. Oh, well. All right, so all that stuff. And now some migrants have arrived. Okay, so I didn't get a chance. I totally spaced out. This is because I'm not used to playing without having it paused every 2 seconds, because I'm trying to play it like while not pausing it so much. And plus I sped up the speed. That's my excuse for screwing that up so badly. Well, they had some nice crossbows, and I wouldn't be able to afford anything anyway. So no big deal. They're embarking. Goodbye. Some new migrants. Looks like 3. That's it. Okay. All right. Let's go back down to our... So this is a generic meeting area. This is what I'm going to be. Eventually, they're going to ask me for either a guild hall, probably a farmer guild, or whatever they're all into. Farmers guild, stoneworkers guild. I could check. Or a temple. usually don't worry about the temple right away. But let's get back to our workshop, and I got to make sure we got some doors running because we gotta get these other bedrooms going. Yeah, because these guys don't have anywhere to sleep. These new dwarfs that have arrived. So I gotta go workshops. There it is. Beds. How many beds do we have right there? One. Nobody. Oh yeah. So yeah, that's right. I was gonna check and see if I'm out of wood, which I think I am, which is why I don't have any bins being made. Yeah, I need some wood. We need to cut down some trees. That's a lot of wood. Yeah, that's so. Oh, where we're looking at are the tree trunks. If I go one level up, there's more trees. On the left, there's the treetops. So let's chop down that one, and that one. I believe I do have a wood dwarf. Let's take a look at our labor. Woodcutters. We have one woodcutter. Orvad. Dollar cost. Only he will cut the wood. So I've had a problem before where I made the woodcutter a. What was the problem? I made the woodcutter a member of the militia. So he was walking around with like a sword or something. And so whenever I would tell him to cut wood, he wasn't smart enough to go and put the sword down. Then I was like, because you can't, you can just tell him to equip. Well, so there are solutions that I later on found out. Like you could specifically tell him to equip the axe, although I don't think they include the wood axe as a weapon if they have it, if they're using it for chopping down trees. Hey, what's up, Paul? Good to see you, brother. Just chilling. This game is a nice, relaxing game. You know what? I don't really consider this a game. Consider it more of a. You ever see those Zen gardens people put in their office, the sand, where they're just like oh, it's more of a. It's like a simulation. Workshop, farm plot. Put a whole farm plot there. Oh, I wasn't fast enough. That. Farming. Can I put 2 farms up here? One there. I'll keep it on that for now. Yeah, Paul. Hope you're doing well. Sorry, it's itching my knee. I'm curious, can you hear like sound effects? Because I don't have the sound on this thing. Like where I can hear anything or like music from this thing. Or if there's any weirdness, just let me know. What are we gonna grow here? This isn't really food growing. Quarry bushes, dimple cup. This stuff is for food dye. Pigtails is for cloth. I did want to put it in different dimple cups and quarry bushes. Sweet pods are also for. It doesn't tell you. I don't feel like looking it up. Easter was pretty cool. I mean, well enough. whenever my cousin had a little get together. Cook out, made some chicken, and actually a bunch of people bought food. You know, it was one of those type of deals. You know what? For now, sure, what does sea black for the winter? I'm not sure what quarry bushes do. We're gonna put that there. Over here, I am gonna put dimple cups. I know it's for dye, but whatever. We'll make some dimple cups. Some sweet pots too. So none of that's food like I was worried about. So we'll see what happens. If not, I just remembered we have a fishing place. All right, so now we have wood. That's what we needed. Now we can build the beds. Now we can build the other stuff. Yeah, I can't hear myself. Like, I mean, I'm sure I can turn it up, but I'm worried I'm going to end up causing severe feedback from something. So we got that. Let's go down back to our tavern. Yeah, so we have to. All right, so there's our tavern again. Something's very plain about this tavern. It's very small. I need some more statues. We need some musical instruments. I didn't get a chance to buy any. So we have a bunch of statues. You know, at this point, let's see. I don't know if I want to waste statues yet like that. Oh yeah, there's all of our. We still need bins. All right, so they're building the bins. 8. That's right. So now I need beds, like big time. So work order, add work order, make a number of beds. Well, we definitely need. Well, I guess let's just make 5 beds. We're gonna get rid of the bins order for now. We already have one made. All right, so we got that. Cabinets and that, good. Here's our original beds. Here's our new bedrooms. Okay, good. I'm gonna add some doors. 1. Let's tell that to not do that. Door. Keep building. Use closest door, whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alrighty. That's right. This is where we want. Yeah, we have a monster hunting. Did I do that on purpose? Because I do have that one dwarf that joined us is a monster hunter, and I dug out that area that takes me down to this lower level. I don't know. I don't know. Furniture, bed. Let's get some beds for some bedrooms. Yeah, we definitely need more beds. And here's the chest areas. This will all go in the same spot. All right, and I see I missed a smoothing spot over there. And cabinets. And then we're good for the beds, except for making the other beds. I mean, good for the bedrooms, rather. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we need more cabinets, too. So all that junk I was making, and I wasn't making what we needed. With tables, chairs. For what? Maybe that tiny tavern? Need a bigger tavern. Let's just make a huge tavern somewhere. I'm not used to like the other maps. I don't think I got to the cat that these caverns so quickly. It seems shallow, but I'm already at the, because the ground elevation is 49. Although I can't remember what like the other one started at. But we're in a mountain. We are in a kind of mountainous region anyway. All right, there's our guys hanging out in the tavern, chilling. He's reciting poetry. Anyway, I do want to build some libraries now. So yeah, there's so much stuff to do at this point. I mean, everything's stabilized. So now it's kind of because you get them to build certain plants, and then you get them to make. You got to make paper, build book, have them buying books. But you need thread. You need all this kind of stuff to actually make the books. And then you can start building a library on the bookshelves, and then the dwarves. Like you can do all this kind of stuff. We need cabinets. 10 make 10 cabinets. We got coffers there. I think were we good on the doors? Yeah. So coffers. We already got. There's 10 cabinets about to get made. We need, man. So beds and bins. So really, it's the wooden stuff that we need. They already finished making the beds. Yes, they did. So we still need bins because this stuff's sitting all out that can be contained in a bin. Here's an empty bin right here, though. Let's change that to 5. That way we're not just filling up more space with empty bins that we don't need. So we have those. All these guys praying around this shrine. I should just build an extra, like a temple thing right here. Or a tavern. Maybe I don't know. Let's see what deities these things are into. Where is our secondary bedroom? There it is. So now I know I've got some beds made. Boom, boom, boom. Where are we going to put that one? Might as well put that over there. Is that all of them? We got it. So we definitely have enough bedrooms now for all of our 13 population. We have more than enough. Now, do we have cabinets made yet? Nope. Get those cabinets made. Okay. So I was digging out the other area for the other workshop level. There we go. Because I want to I do want to start somehow semi-organizing it. Let's just make a room for stuff. Actually, that's pretty dumb because I can't make a door. Whatever. We can make that secondary storage for something. I kind of want to make something that I can have a doorway into. Actually, that's perfect right there because there's a middle one. So we can go wherever that could be. This could be another guild hall, I think. But another workshop area is what I'm thinking. Yeah. So I can actually divide this stuff up a little bit so it's a little less chaotic. And get a place basically to start grinding plants, a place to put like eventually start getting leather. If I start once I start butchering the animals, we're gonna want a separate spot for there's. Let's see. Take a look at what our options are here. Yeah, the mechanic build, so you can build like mechanisms. Need an area for a hospital for our dwarves. This stuff is going so fast because I'm used to playing it on slow speed. I'm going to step away real quick. Paul, I don't know if you want to, but I mean, you're welcome to come up on here if you want to shoot the breeze. Just let me know. I'll be right back. And that's not me in that picture, by the way. I tried to find a picture of John D. Lancey, the guy that plays Q. I usually use his avatar with a beard. That's the best I could find. Although this one's kind of ominous. I like it. Hey, man.
Hello.
Let me know if I'm getting any feedback or anything.
No.
Okay. You can hear me okay? You don't hear any weirdness?
Yeah, I hear you just fine. I know there's just a little light sound real low. You know, you can't hardly hear nothing. You know, in the background, you know, at the game or something.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm gonna step away real quick, but yeah, how was your Easter? Hopefully it went relatively peaceful.
Oh, yeah, had a great service. Yeah, we had communion with the Lord and had a great service and then had a great dinner and, you know.
It seems like Easter is one of those holidays that the family usually doesn't fight. It's I
didn't say that. I didn't say that.
Really?
Oh, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because usually it's like less.
There's somebody in my family that's like hardcore liberal. And we got into a discussion about, you know, I've been working with a recovery, like faith-based recovery program for a while. And they were saying that AA is a Christian organization. And all I did was mention something like it. And they kind of spazzed out, man, and left. And it got real weird. But anyway, I said, there's no Christian organization that offers more than one God.
So they said it was a Christian base, and you're like,
Yeah,
What?
which
I mean, I don't think.
and then they said that they don't have any religious affiliation, but people come to Christ there. I said, yeah, but if you ever listen to any of the quotes they have, they kind of like hold up AA as the God.
Yeah,
Um,
there is a include, or what do you call it, inclusive as possible. Yeah, they're not a, they are like more. I would certainly call them like deist.
well, they did make a point that somebody did come to Christ through AA because what they do is they affiliate with any type of faith. They let anything be your higher power. That bar of soap can be your higher power. Uh,
Right, exactly. Well, I'm sure at some point they probably stopped saying, they probably said God at some point. But and I know one, so I used to go with a friend of mine, and like one of them was like a high school, and I'm pretty sure the person that ran it was like a hardcore Christian at that time. So I think it just depends on who's running it, and it's like, all right, and they'd be like, well, if you don't like it, go to another one, like go to another AA or NA. Well, these are NAs, or I mean, same.
yeah, but this is the liberal agenda, though. It's like they're saying, yeah, they don't force it on anybody, and they think somebody that's a faith-based organization would force it. I said, no. I said we are committed to the truth, and we can't lie to people. When it comes to, is there any other higher power? If I was to teach that, I would feel like I was a pagan or something. Um, but yeah, our program, we allow people to know before they make the choice to come that this is what it is. Where that program, it's sort of like the seeker-friendly emergent churches. They don't preach other gods and all that, but I don't even know if they know how many people are saved in their congregation or not. Because they're very and I have doubts, but they're very open to where you could get a church where you could possibly say 50% of them don't even know the gospel, or don't even know the truth, or if they do, they just think because it's such a nice place and everybody's so nice, it's okay to go there and hang out. It becomes like well, they're nice, and their side of it is they think eventually they'll be able to bring them to Christ, and my problem with that was never where I don't think church was ever meant to be a place where the world should feel like they're in the kingdom, but we're supposed to go out in the world and teach them the gospel. We're not supposed to bring the world into the fellowship, that we have with Christ in the church. And some people say, well, what, you don't believe people can get saved in the church? So that's not what I'm talking about. Yes, most certainly. Lost people can come to church and all this, but when you make it like it's almost like a social club type thing, and hoping that sooner or later they'll hear something and come to Christ. And I wonder sometimes, is that the Lord's intent? Is that really a ministry that could open a door for that? But then you have to think about like things like the things that they do to do so, like they make the services more contemporary, maybe. I don't know. I'm old fashioned, man. I grew up in a church where, we did see people that come, from the outside of church. Nobody ever told them they couldn't come in or anything.
I mean, I can imagine different things it could mean.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, to me, it's so confusing. But I don't ever want to shut the door on ministry. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I just don't know if that's the way to go about it.
Well, I mean, would you think that would be different than ministry? I mean, you mean specifically with the NA stuff, with the AA stuff? I mean, to me, it would be like if somebody's a member of a church, if somebody was truly in Christ, like if somebody was doing everything that they should be doing as a Christian, I guess I should be saying. I mean, without sending. I mean, the reason why I don't think I am I should be sounding or coming off as completely judgmental in that is there is there is a set thing that we should be doing as Christians. Like, and fellowshipping with other Christians is one. Fellowshipping with the Lord, studying the Lord, and that includes having a support network. That's one thing I learned in being, just going through different stuff. It's like when I didn't, I stopped going to church like, years before that. And it's like all of a sudden something happened. And it's like, oh, wow. Yeah. So it would be like, because I'm sure the same people I knew were still there. But at that point, I didn't feel comfortable enough to be like, to show up after, a year and a half and be like, oh, man. I mean, I probably should have, looking back, but I think it was longer than a year and a half, though. Probably more like, and even the earlier church from that's like 5 years, right? So like that's the sort of thing. Where about just if you're going to be in the middle, if you're going to be in a support network, then not you know what I mean.
Well, the thing that I've seen that
don't have that, then you're going to find an NA meeting.
Well, this is what I find. Like you,
or if that's the type of thing you're into, rather,
these things with these churches, the things that I found that are problematic, and I'm not saying. See, I don't want to be that old fuddy-duddy that don't see the ways to go into ministry and any way to bring anybody to Christ, But for me, the thing that I see with these churches, they grow really quick, right? And they still have congregations where the world's constantly coming in. And some of them get comfortable, like with their lifestyles, like LGBTQ and all that in the audience. And there is no really discipline, maybe, and there's no discipleship really being taught. It's mainly, come in, let's turn the lights down, turn the smoke machines on, have a good time with songs, preach a sermon, and go out and just be real nice to everybody, and sometimes a lot of the preaching is motivational.
Right.
It's like hype. And it's not just the true blue gospel and the word being taught,
I mean, everything that you're talking about, like that's been, as far as I was concerned, prior to being a Christian, was pretty much what I saw Christianity as anyway, in which rendered it meaningless, as far as just another Celestine prophecy, self-help, get yourself together. A lot of the, just go join it, which I told you, I was talking to somebody recently about, like one of my, I don't think I told you, I don't know, but at some point I decided, why don't I check out what it's like to follow a religion, like decide to follow a religion. No, what happened was, and it's an interesting story. I had found because I was already into paganism, and witchcraft, basically. And at one point, I found out I was looking up symbols for. I can't remember if I specifically was looking up like lists of religions. And the symbol for one was a 9-pointed star, and I was like, "Oh, that's an interesting shape." And the number 9 was always considered like spooky or whatever. So I was like, oh, and then that made me look at Baha'i. And then Baha'i is a religion from like the 1880s or 60s or something, like some Iranian guy or Persian guy. He claimed to be a prophet, and he claimed that like all the different claimed that God visited human beings in different, basically all the different major religions that had one God were all the same religion and were all true. And it's just talking to different people at different times, which doesn't make, which makes no sense really. I mean, when the religions contradict each other, that sort of thing. I mean, it should go without saying.
My main problem is the relevance. The priority of the relevance was that, like, it's almost like they're saying, "Hey, we're just like you. We're like the world," and they'll kind of mix some of the procedures and formalities in the service to be acceptable, of the world, in a contemporary way. The things that people wear when they come to church, and I don't think that matters. I'm not saying you got to have a certain suit or a certain thing that you wear to church. But they go out of their way to be, how can I say it, acceptable to the world, what the world would accept. And I think it should be the other way around. Not saying that you have to dress a certain way or anything like that, but we shouldn't be going out of our way.
The fact
We should be going out of our way to do that,
The fact that wasn't obvious before, and this is where because like I've said before, I'm wondering, like, why do I think that I got some better view of it than others? Because and then whatever, I don't care. I can only thank God, right? Because the stuff that I came up, the way that I came up learning scripture, and just the specific literature that I studied, or the stuff that I studied, who specifically nailed that stuff down perfectly. To say God doesn't, because this is what I've always say anyway. Now, the core doctrines. If you keep your core doctrine in mind, then anything else that's going to go against that, and one of those core doctrines is that God doesn't change, right?
Right.
That's it. And so if and that includes the word, and and if you understand what a Christian is, if you understand what the indwelling of the Holy Spirit means, then that means that the way somebody's acting. People are going to have issues. People are going to struggle, whatever. But generally, if you understand somebody's born again in the Spirit, all these things.
Well, it's sort of like this. Like, I've seen things where they would have a bunny rabbit, supposed to be the Easter rabbit, outside at the end of the driveway, waving people in an Easter rabbit suit to come into church. And I'm just like, huh. You know what I mean? Or one day they had Smurfs, or one day they had this, and it was like, and I get it. They're trying to attract children to want to come, and and I said something to somebody one day. I said, we're not supposed to conform to the world in order to have the world. We're supposed to be different. We're supposed to be in Christ, and we should be promoting the gospel as the thing that's waving people in. And they said, well, he said, we just do whatever we can to get them in here, and then we get them the gospel. And I just, and I kind of just stayed at a pause with that, but then I started seeing down the road, if these things, then when does it ever change from that? When does it ever progress to that and stay sturdy? Because what happens is the sheep start starving, right? Because the wolves keep coming in, and we're trying to like transform the wolves into a sheep somehow. It becomes like a circus. Like Charles Spurgeon said, it will be entertaining goats instead of, feeding the sheep. So it becomes like a circus. And not all these churches are like that. I would say the one here, they make more of the effort to, as they grow and as they learn, they're making more of an effort to understand that's not the way. But sometimes you get in so deep for so long, they every 4 Sundays in a month, 2 of them are teaching on tithing. The audience is growing, money's coming in, they're building new buildings, they're doing more ministry. And I don't know, man, it's kind of like there's many things at stake here, and I see a lot of good things, and I see a lot of things that are just like, whoa, wait a minute, we can't do that. There's a lot of Pentecostal influence in these churches too. So I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with that. I can't give it. I mean, there's nothing I can.
I wouldn't want to say anything. Yeah. Like if the Lord was working in such a way where he would, like Paul said, he became whatever he did to be the slave to the gospel and the slave to them to hear the gospel. I don't think that meant that but he did say, he knew he had to become as those that were, under the law, as one that's under the law, in order to give them the gospel. you know. So there were certain things that he would go in the synagogues, for instance, you know, and preach and different things. But I don't think it meant that he became like them in order to conform them to Christ. But you got to have an open door, you know. In today's world, who knows? I don't know, man. There's so many things out there today,
Well,
man. There's, you know.
Yeah, it's the also the I don't want to say audience, but that's I mean that's based on what we're talking about. That is kind of what it is, but the what you call it, like the the locals, whoever the local people are. I mean,
Right.
decide that thing too. Just like I say with the government, you know, the people get the country, the leaders they deserve.
Right. I mean, I drive an hour to go to church, and it isn't because there probably isn't a church around me that I can find good worship. It's just that I feel comfortable where I'm at, that they're doing things the way the Lord would want them to, you know. But they lack a ministry, you know, where these other churches are booming in ministry. Many people are coming in and hearing the
Have you
gospel.
noticed most people just they just aren't really that into it,
Yeah.
straight up. Like, and for me and you, I would imagine. I don't got to imagine it. I've talked to you long enough. Uh, you know, we're into it, and we're probably perplexed as to how somebody isn't into it.
Right.
You know, like this is the Lord of all creation that you're that we're talking with. You know,
I always think of the body having many parts.
giving us the scripture, giving us, it's His Spirit. Like that's amazing. That's why that's why when I talk to people, and when I talk to people also that claim to be Christians, and I don't like, isn't it supposed to be a quickening spirit? Right?
Yes. Yes.
What does that mean, quickening spirit?
Life giving.
All I know about the word quickening is like, oh, okay, life giving.
Mm-hmm. That's my understanding of it. I could be wrong, but that's what I've always understood it as.
Wasn't it like a feeling? Like a feeling a woman gets when she realizes she has life?
I don't know.
Like the quick, or I was going to say the only place I've heard it from was the Highlander. They call it the quickening when they're around another person who is immortal. They feel the quickening. Like, so the Immortals. I don't know if you ever seen that movie, The Highlander, where they're basically a race, or I don't know if they're a race. I mean, later on they turn out to be from another planet, but so you live thousands of years, but there wasn't a lot of them, so they didn't really know each other. But once in a while, they'd come across another one, and they would just kind of be able to sense it, and then they'd have to like go and like try to cut each other's head off.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say this, like
a little bit different than what two Christians do when they meet.
I know this one church, they got very liberal in such a way to get people in the door. And then they looked around and they had all kinds in the church, you know. I mean, literally all kinds of people that were living in sin, people that, living with each other when they're not married, and LGBTQ, and they started indicting, they got like 7 to 10 women pastors. And
so what do you think about that? Like, what would you, if you were like the minister of that church?
And I know who the minister is. I know him well,
Okay.
He's a young guy. Yeah.
Like,
what do I think of it? Well, I work in a ministry.
I know what you think of it, obviously. I mean, but
yeah.
What do you think as far as? Oh yeah, sorry. Like, you know what I mean?
No.
Yeah, whatever you think of it.
I don't go to that church, and I work in a ministry that's affiliated with it. When I'm teaching the guys, there's certain things that I noticed in the church. I let them know that when the lights go down low and the keyboards in the background, and it's constantly this feel good with background type thing, for me, I had to have a raw experience with the Lord of me being a wicked sinner and him being my Lord and Savior, and me coming to that submission and that repentance, and there it's like God loves you, you're special. And I didn't have that kind of experience. My kind of experience was I was a wretch, and this is such a feel good positivity. They don't say anything. They don't, they don't want to offend people as like a priority. They say people that do that are causing divisions and all this, but I think there are divisions because of the mixed crowd, and they're starting to feel welcome in this church, and they're not even in the church yet, and because it goes for so long. I don't have a problem with somebody coming to church and hearing the message, and if they want to sit on the back pew and listen every day, but when they get involved in the fellowship and they get involved in, as they might be feeling comfortable with something, and they're not even at that point where they've come to the Lord, in that fear of him, and that trust in him at the same time. It's more of like, you're just special and God loves you. And it kind of makes it, to me, like seeker friendly turns things around to where we become what the Lord is conforming to instead of us conforming to him. And to me, that, it set up a red flag in me, and I had to be silent somewhat because I wanted to remain in the ministry. But at the same time, the opportunities I get where I see things going on in there, which they will claim that they don't believe this. They say, well, we know it's not this. And I said, then why do you do it? Why do you put the smoke machines on? Why do you turn the lights off? Why do you use all these flashing lights and all this stuff? Why do I feel like I'm going to a concert hall when I'm going to church? And they said that's just, them praising the Lord, and that's how they look at it. So for me, I know God looks at the intent, but sometimes the way we go about things bring on the wrong intent, and people get the wrong message. They get too lax with things.
Yeah, look, there's one thing to be said for like whether or not the people that are surrounding a church, the people that live around a church, are properly reflecting the values of that church.
Mm.
And if they are, what does that even mean? Right? Because then the values of the church are corrupted then. But I don't think it's a two-way street. I do think it's a two-way street in a way, because if the values of the church are corrupted, then what that actually means by definition would be that therefore the influences of the outside is coming in. It's either one or the other.
Mm.
It's from the outside. It's like pressure from outside or inside. Like whatever is gonna, one of them's gonna be the one keeping the other one out.
One thing that bothered me is that I realized when I was a child, I grew up in Christian school. I went everywhere, and come to find out, I wasn't even saved during that whole time. It was like 11 years of my life. Of course, I was a child and growing into a teenager and all that. And I still don't have a problem with that, like having youth programs and children come to church, and if they're not saved or whatever. But if they're feeling okay with being LGBTQ or living with a woman, and still, for some reason, they don't have no conviction of this, and they're just continuing in it, and they think it's okay. And to me, that speaks a lot on, the thing, that where there's a lot of honey, but no hardness, in the preaching. There's probably no preaching against sin or anything like that. It's more about just how great you are and God loves you, I don't want to take away from that truth, but the way God loves you is that we have to start agreeing with what he says is right and wrong. We have to start dealing with that in our life. I'm not a work salvationist, but I do believe that after you get saved, if you do not, because I experienced this myself, if you do not go into discipleship or go into some kind of unity in a church where you're accountable with one another and trying to, live out the faith and the Christian walk as you should, not as lords over anyone, but as brother and sisters, lifting up one another, lowering ourselves,
the obsession with who's saved and who's not
Yeah.
is really it's not. I don't see where. I mean, unless you're trying to purposefully, which maybe you are, maybe somebody is. Like if that's somebody that somebody's concerned with, then obviously talk about it all you need to talk about it. You know what I mean?
Well, like for me, we had like
It becomes a
Saturdays.
foundational thing. Well, what you said about discipleship is very like poignant to that, because that's without that, people that are like, yeah, I'm a Christian, and then it's very dangerous. Basically, in a very nutshell, it's dangerous to just. I mean, what are you doing? Doing nothing. In order to, because here's something that got me. One of the sections in the Irenaeus thing, it struck me that I forgot exactly what he says, but something basically where the way he's describing people that are members of the church is he specifically says this person is a member of our body, as a member of our church, but they might not know the gospel yet. They might not even understand the gospel yet. They might not. And my impression was they might not even be saved yet, is basically what he was saying. Right. But because what he kept on saying, he kept on going was like, but through learning, basically talking about discipleship, through keeping these people in, and all this kind of stuff, then eventually, and then it's like, because that's where it's kind of like what someone's status with the Lord is when it comes to that regard. I mean, whatever it is or not, if you see that they're not, then you're going to try to minister to them anyway, right? And or if you see that somebody is a member of the Lord, then you're going to minister to them. We're all supposed to minister to each other in any case, right? So now how we minister to each other is one particular matter. So obviously, if there's somebody who is claiming to be a Christian, okay, that's one thing. All right, so you're claiming to be a Christian. Now, if I'm secretly thinking, oh, are you really a Christian? I mean, that's the same thing as, but are you saved or not? But I think that there's a lot of people that aren't Christians that might. Well, here, let me say this correctly here. Like people that I would think, like it's the difference between people that are claiming it, versus people that actually are it, and maybe there are some people that are it, that like. The way I treat people is, I don't think, going to necessarily change. It doesn't. It's not based on that, right? Unless we're specifically discussing it.
Yeah. Anytime I've got long and thought about this, about saying something to this church or anything, I always get kind of like stumbled up. Like, but if people are coming to Christ, even though there are many that may not be, or not even taking it serious, they're just like a social club to them, coming in there. They feel good saying they went to church. And then, but I heard a comment one time, not long ago. It was on Facebook, and someone said something to the point like, I don't want to go to a church where they don't accept me because I'm living with somebody in sin and I have their children and we're not married and this, because I want a church will just accept me as who I am. And it became like, wait a minute, is that the reputation we want as a church? Is that really what Christ says, that he accepts you as you are? Or does he save you and we're converted?
Well, no, he does accept you as you are.
No, he accepts you. I know what you're saying as far as coming into salvation. We're a sinner and we come to him as a sinner, yes. But I mean, it
depends on what you're talking about.
The way that they were saying is like the church was accepting this sinful behavior, and they feel comfortable there, just staying in it, no. And to make the proclamation that, I mean, because if they were talking about other churches, I'll just tell you this: my church lets anybody come in that door. You know what I mean? But once you've been there a while,
Well, I would say good.
yeah.
But
I mean, we've always been that
my
way.
church, my old church, there was a drunk guy used to come in there every single Sunday. Now they didn't allow him in the sanctuary, but if I looked out, sure enough, he'd be like half passed out, laying across the couch. It's kind of, and people out there. People he didn't get rowdy or nothing. But my point is, I don't believe in any church turning anybody away.
No. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that once you've been there a while, right, and it's just become an acceptable place for you to live your sinful life the way you want. Out of wedlock, whatever it may be, with nobody saying anything to you, no discipline in the church, nothing. That's the whole deal with Paul. Whenever you seen that guy that had sex with his father's husband, it wasn't that the man couldn't have repented and stayed in fellowship, but it was that the church accepted it. It's just no big deal. So Paul sent him back to Satan for his flesh to be destroyed, but his soul to be saved. But to make an example that, listen, we can't allow this corruption to come in the church is okay. We have to say something about it. It's not that you're not welcome here, but you got to understand we do have things that we live according to in the faith. If you're not willing to accept that or be disciplined in such a way, to be rebuked or anything, and you think you can just do whatever, whether you're saved or not isn't the question. It's just that kind of living isn't allowed in fellowship. This girl that was talking about this, she was like with this other guy, and she'd been married before, and had kids by whoever, and she felt like some other church wouldn't accept her. I don't know where she went, to get that kind of attitude or whatever. That like she couldn't come there to get saved or listen to the message or get
What do
converted.
you mean? That's what you just said.
Yeah, but my whole point is this: is that at some point there has to be discipline in the church. Yes, come in, please. Anybody. I don't care who you are.
That's where, for me, that's where the eldership would come in. Like, I heard about one guy in my old church. And he was a well-known guy, and they were like, "Oh, that guy slapped somebody across the face once in the middle of the sanctuary once." And I was like, "What?" And the first thing I thought was, "Why is he still an elder? Like, don't kick him out." I mean, there's a difference between being a elder or whatever you want to call it, somebody who is in a place of authority, whatever level, whether or not you're cleaning the bathrooms, teaching kindergarten, taking care of the lights or the music or whatever. There's all these kind of hierarchies, whether or not you're a part of any of that, or you're just a congregant, which you should be humble. If you're humble enough, then that should be where you're humble to be anyway. If you're either a congregant or you're not. But if you've done anything like that, in my view, but who knows? I don't know what as far as I knew, the guy was having like a diabetic attack or something like that, from what I understand, which I found out later on. Before I was sitting there like why is this dude, like, why is he still in any, why is he like in any place of anything? Because he was like a guest pastor. Like he would be guest pastor sometimes when the pastor like was ill or something. That was the big thing for me. I was like, he did that, and yet he's still allowed to be a pastor. Like that's crazy. Like, but this is when I was first. It's really crazy to think back, because like I recently put those songs on my channel from 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And and I was thinking back, man, because some of the songs are gospel songs, and I remember first hearing, like, getting it, like I was, when you get saved, man, you're on fire for the Lord,
right?
And I got saved in like late 2009, and at that point, it was like just like 2 years in, 3 years in, it's amazing. I don't know, I was just thinking about it, and the stuff that I was even then like into. Like a lot of I could think back at the way I've learned stuff, what I've learned, different people I've talked to.
Well, Kelvin, when after I got saved, that 3 years after, and then I fell into that terrible stuff I did. See, again, to me, it's not about whether somebody's saved or not. It's about how are we holding church? How are we doing things? Well, I found myself in this place, man. I started getting addicted to after I got hurt, and I had another disc go out, and they sent me to a pain clinic, and I ended up getting addicted to the opiates they were giving me. And I started changing, started doing different things, and I come under conviction, and I literally did come under this conviction that I stopped fellowshipping in the church myself. Nobody stopped me from going there because they didn't even know. Half of them didn't know. They thought, well, he's hurt. Yeah, he's got to take this. They would never say anything. But I knew, what was going on with me. And I fell under a deep conviction to not fellowship because I was afraid, what if I was to cause someone else to stumble? And I had this fear in me, and I removed myself from the bus ministry and the things that I was doing and just told them, well, I had to anyway because of my back. In many ways, that was another reason I wasn't going to church. But I really did come under this deep conviction that I just didn't want to cause another brother to stumble. I didn't want whatever it is that I'm getting caught up into to be something that I might bleed into someone else, or because I'm not operating in the Spirit in the way that I should and things, that I might be a bad example. There's little children in the church, all kinds of things like that. And I don't know, maybe that's not to the extent of what they're doing here at this church, but I do know this, that I prayed and I prayed and I prayed for this church, for the pastor and all that for a long time, because I really did think that there were some things that need to be looked at. And then I heard, I think it was about 6 months ago, maybe something like that. I talked to somebody and he said, I don't know if you've been to church lately. He said, but our pastor preached on that you can't come to this church if you're living in sin like this. He said, we can't have fellowship like this because we have to have discipline. And said, there was LGBTQ in there that were married to one another and all kinds of stuff. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on in there that they were just, being part of the community. And when he preached that, a large majority of people walked away from the church. And that just tells you why they were there.
Right.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah,
see, but it took a long time for that to get to that point. So you can imagine what I was seeing and why I was concerned. I think sometimes we get so caught up in the initial, oh, what are you saying? People can't come to church and get saved. That's why I don't even like having that conversation, because that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we can't become like the world once we get converted. We have to start conforming to Christ. And some of the dangers of trying to conform to the world to get the world to come into church. I mean, Jesus said, go out in the world and preach the gospel. He didn't say bring the world into the church. You know what I mean? He didn't say do that. And you'll see as we get through Corinthians. I don't know if you've studied much of Corinthians. I find it very interesting how Paul deals with this at the church of Corinth. They had the same problem. And Paul had to come in and rebuke people. And I mean, he was constantly saying, do I have to come to you, and deal with this? And Paul had power and authority. He had the authority to send someone to Satan. Peter had the authority. That's why I don't know if you read that email I gave you. It was a rough draft. I'm sorry for all the mistakes in it, probably things I need to correct, because I went back over it today and I seen a lot of things that were not, like I said, it was a rough draft. But yeah, in that, let me just say this, there was a lot of rebuke, and instructions and corrections being made. And if you're just constantly sitting there saying God loves you and you're great and nobody's dealing with the sin in their life or nothing like that, and then it starts, over time, it starts accumulating. And then next thing you know, you've got it's like, it's like the world moved in your church. No, I've never been in a church or involved with a church that would turn anybody down coming in the doors to come to Christ. You know what I mean? But if they
I don't
claim,
really have a good idea of even what a normal. I mean, I've gone to churches enough. I mean, for like, I guess for multiple years, but I don't know. I don't even. I haven't. I don't know what it's really supposed to look like. You know what I mean? I mean, I have my own idea, but I never tried to assume that my own idea is what it's supposed to look like. I always assume it's not.
The last thing I would want to do is to be any type of stumbling block to anyone coming to Christ, right? But if you put it in a liberal way, it's them pushing on you to be accepted by whatever it is they want to do, and they can still be the church. Sort of like, LGBTQ marriage and all that, saying that because they want to join partners or whatever they call it, that's a marriage. No, that's not a marriage. You can't call it a marriage. That is not what a marriage is in the Bible. The Bible is a marriage is to a man and a woman, and God is the one that set out what marriage is. And if you let them, they come into that it's not fair kind of mentality and all this stuff. And my idealism on what's fair and what's not fair has nothing to do with what God says is right and wrong and how we should go about things. And you start letting that kind of mindset come in, and the same thing with these social justice awarenesses and all these. A lot of them are doing things for the wrong agenda. They're not really trying to help people. They're just trying to make a fuss. And like, why is there so many white liberal women saying Black Lives Matter?
I mean,
I've seen videos on that. They say there's more of them than there are black people doing that. It's like, it's because a lot of people know the Black Lives Matter movement, that they've made tons of money.
There's so many answers to that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're still asking those questions, because that's been good stuff. All this stuff has been building up. I mean, I have my own theories on when, where you can trace every all this stuff, because I think all this stuff is purely subversion.
Yes.
I mean, I think there are people that truly, don't get me wrong, I think there are individuals that truly have their intentions in the right place, but I don't think that they that's probably the only thing. but they don't really matter as much.
When's the last time you've seen any liberal movement that is actually true to the cause, right? And a lot of times the cause in itself is dishonest.
I don't know. I mean, I don't just I with this sort of thing, I really try not to make blanket statements.
Well, yeah, I'm not making a blanket statement. I'm saying,
I'm not saying you are, but if I'm going to be like, well, these kind of things. I mean, if you want to talk about like Black Lives Matter specifically, I mean, I'm fine with that, because it's got me thinking of like all these other types of wherever you can go, like whatever you can.
Feminism, feminism.
Like a lot of militant groups.
Listen, I'll name three. Feminism.
Before this, which is why this is also interesting or amusing to me. Like all the stuff now, I studied militant groups 20 years ago, so now I see all this stuff popping up now, and I'm like, oh wow, like, and I called this, although I called it the other way around, and it still might happen, because I remember telling my friend, like back when I told you I was a hardcore conservative hating liberal back in the day. Like I used to say worst things to them, man. I mean, oh man, like it's shameful. And but at one point I said, watch, dude, in 20 years, and I probably said this 15 years ago, I was like, there's going to be I was like, it's going to be like Africa, only over here it's going to be truckloads of rednecks running around like in the backs of pickup trucks with AK-47s and M4s. and that's well, we're not there yet, but
yeah. Yes. I don't know. It just seems like the world we live in now
isn't racial. The idea of it is something that's fundamentally well, I don't want to say broken, because it's a fundamental part of the human spirit to want to fight and struggle and be justified.
Yeah, and you say fundamentally, and the irony is it's the lack of fundamentals.
Like, well, yeah, and how justified you can feel
Yeah,
in doing things, because if people do things, the way things that have gone in America are certainly basically going to the way the entire rest of the world is. And I don't just mean Africa. I mean, I just mean Africa. As, back then I meant that because I think back then there was I think that's when I think was it Liberia was going crazy. I think it was like 2003 or something. Charles, I can't remember the name now. Liberia. I know.
I've seen so many verses that are actually separating, the world and the kingdom. Even in our conversion, from the kingdom of darkness to the kingdom of light. And the last thing I think we should be doing is trying to be like the world, or saying that, as the last thing we should be trying to do is try to be like
element. Shouldn't it? That should be a fundamental element of every ministry.
So when you use that to get them in the door in your church, now I'm not saying about going out in the world and doing what you do in ministry. I'm talking about in the church. How do you get away from that? How do you break free from that? We were just kidding. We're not really like that.
Maybe this is where I'm getting confused on it, because for me it's either like, for me, you got like, your family unit, you got your probably your work unit, your employment unit, the people in that, and then sanctified from the whole rest of your life is the church unit, of which others can be a part of. There can be overlap, obviously.
Yeah.
You would hope your family unit's going to be part of your church unit, but the church unit's it's a sanctified thing. I mean, that's why the whole setting apart one single day, just it provides a chance to do that, to have but that's not how we're supposed to operate, though. We aren't supposed to operate every single day is our Sabbath, like we always say. So we're supposed to so when you walk around through daily life, I would imagine most normal people are going to have their family on their mind, if they're at work, or if they're at home. I hope they don't have their work on their mind, but maybe they do, or when they have the church on their mind, or the Lord, as it were, because this is, and I'm just talking about in more like social anthropological terms here. I mean, not becoming Catholic or anything from reading all these ancient church father Romans.
see, that's another thing, is that I've noticed Satan's move lately in religion, man's religion, is unifying with true Christians. It's the unity of unity that they're really pushing, and it goes right along with the whole thing the world's doing now. This one world religion, or this what do they call it, the Great Reset, or whatever else. They have all kinds of agendas, according to this unity of unity, and it's not unity in Christ, it's unity of unity.
There's always going to be something. That's the thing. Even if it came out, because there's one point, right, where you start looking into some stuff and you're like, wow, man, it really does. There's some stuff, la-di-da, I think if anybody really seriously, they're going to find something. There's always going to be something, either now, around them, around somebody at some point in history, that's just, and there's always going to be something. That's the problem.
What I always appreciated.
You think Jesus and your whole religion, your God, and it's like, yeah, well, what else is for one? This isn't the only argument, but for one, it's like, what are you telling me here? You're telling me that there is no answer, that there's nothing we can know, and all you're going to do, and that everybody's just stuck jumping through hoops, or that there is a way that we can actually know stuff, and there is a God who wants to be known. If there was a God who wanted to be known, then he would be known. And it's like, you think it's possible that a God exists? Yeah, maybe. Then wouldn't he want to be known? And then he started. Then that's from that point on is where it starts getting stupid. Well, I don't know if he would want to be known. Like, I mean, maybe there's room for that as an argument, but usually it's meant so obtusely. It's absurd.
I actually get anger issues a little bit concerning the idea that I have to prove God to someone. You know, it really does infuriate me.
Well, the infuriation that I'm easing my way back because, like I said, I used to be into talking to atheists about deism, although it was more cosmic pantheism actually. But I proselytized for it. Like I told him, basically it was a proselytized for paganism. So going to amongst atheists now, like you've seen me start doing, William Freeman and all that, and these other guys, because I've seen people be like, "What are you doing?" Like I know, like Cheryl was like, this is very, very. I mean, she's like, I worry about you going over there, and I'm just like, unfortunately, you would probably say, like, I'm more comfortable there than all these random Christians who don't act like Christians,
right?
Most of the time. That I would think, because it gets me to the point where the last, however long I've been a Christian, and trying to be, or I don't want to say trying, I mean being a certain way, maintaining a certain attitude. And then all of a sudden find myself, breaking down from having that attitude because of other Christians. That's a problem. So where, and now, obviously there's going to be a danger of doing that around atheists too. That's the thing. But what you were just saying, as far as like people, for me, people questioning, answering questions. Because there are some people that are just trolling, but there are some people that genuinely, I believe, have an innate, almost, just painful desire to know what the hell is going on, and yet they're very, very distrustful. I understand that, and I can deal with that, and I can almost respect that more than people that are reflecting my Lord in some kind of way that I mean, it's all opinion, and it's all just a matter of just what kind of, and I don't mean it, and I'm not even in particular, like I'm not even talking about, because like I don't like going like Praise I Am's channel that much these days, but I don't even talk about him. Like I do, I believe it or not, I like Tom, right?
Yeah, I do too. I do like Tom.
The other people, yeah. I mean, he's such a spaz. I mean, I don't know why people don't like the word spaz. I don't understand why.
But it's like this. If I get in streams and they're doing Christianity, then the next minute they're cussing and fussing and laughing and mocking and and then showing videos that are just inappropriate.
For me,
I just don't get it. I'm like, why are we doing this? What is going on?
Because there will come a part for me where if I'm on like with straight up like either atheists or or whatever, where if they get to like I will just that I do have thick skin. I mean, if they were doing it strictly to start antagonizing, because there's a point where it is what it is. I mean, this is the way people are. Like a lot of people are like I think often are shocked and at the way, because.
Let me ask you this: if somebody's walking with the Lord, right? Wouldn't there be conviction if you're like holding a Christian stream and then you start showing videos of Lady Gaga saying she has a penis and everything? Why are you doing that? And why is that funny? And what are we? Are you not convicted of that?
Well,
I mean,
that's where it's like, where is it a minute? Is it a ministry? Does it have to be a ministry? Like, because I mean, there's different attitudes I
Yeah,
guess
but it's still correct behavior for a Christian, though. See, first you're a Christian before you do anything. In my opinion, first I am a Christian. Like when I was in the military, I had to own up that when I enlisted, Uncle Sam owned me. And first I'm a soldier. First I'm representing that I'm a soldier. No matter if I went outside a post off the base, if I got trouble by the law on the outside the post, when I come back in the post, I'm in more trouble because I'm actually representing that I'm a soldier and I have rules. You know what I mean? And I don't see that kind of conviction with people. People just like, well, just yeah, I'm a Christian normally, but when I do this, I'm just doing this to do this. It's acceptable. This and that. I said, yeah, but it does matter what you allow and what you don't. How you behave, how you go about things. Because even if you're not, I know you're not holding a church service. I get that, right? And if it is some form of ministry, I know you're trying to connect with people and have these conversations. I get all that, right? But why all this other stuff? Why is it like it's almost like they're trying to conform? Like, no, man, being Christian's cool. It's like the hip Christian. And then I see churches like the Duck Dynasty, the Robertsons. I like looked into them for a while because there's a lot of things doctrinally I was kind of concerned about that I heard about them. Then I started listening to their podcasts. Come to find out, they're not like the regular Church of Christ. They're called the Church of Christ, not Church of Christ. And they believe, I mean, they do have some of the old foundation in it, but they got rid of the things that were, legalistic and just absurd. But at the same time, man, they have great ministries. But what they do is when they bring people in, they get all on board and they dedicate themselves to discipling people. And they go through, long periods of time in fellowship, and they believe in the fellowship, and they believe holding people accountable, and they believe rebuking people, and they believe, watching over one another and all these things, not as lords, but as, brothers and sisters looking out for one another. And man, the Lord's used them greatly, and they've got ministries that go all the way to Greece. They've been all over the world, and the Lord's used them greatly because of their obedience. And it's hard to find churches like that, it's our Christians that are, submitted to that, committed to Christ.
Well, I mean, the one thing is that's, I don't know. I would try to be more into whatever can be unified, because again, a lot of it depends on the community, what kind of community you're living in, if it's a close community or not. Like I have a church. I literally have a church. I can poke my head out the window and see it from here, right?
Yeah.
I've never even thought about going there.
Right.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Well, okay. You know what? It's not true. It's not true that I haven't thought about going there, but I've never actually considered going there.
You never committed to going there.
I've never been like, well, I've thought about like, that would be interesting to go to some random church one day. Like, I can't say I haven't thought about that. I mean, I've thought about everything, but yeah, I've never was about to do it. Just like I found out my aunt goes to another church right down the street. That's like maybe a 5-minute drive. That's not a Pentecostal one. I know the other one's a Pentecostal one that my mom's friend goes to. Because this whole area that I'm living in around here now is like kind of where I'm living near family members.
Well, like our church used to have a youth group meeting, and they had a junior boys club, and they had, different things where they invite the community in and all this. And of course, Easter's like that, people make their one-time entrance in church a year. The attendance is greater than it's ever been. And then the next Sunday, it's right back where it was at. And, I don't, there has to be, if you're not teaching these things and convicting people through the word, what it teaches, and they're not doing it of their own because they're newborn Christians. And, and I've learned this with newborn Christians, the church is obligated. There is a responsibility in the church to commit to such things. If not, then why are they going to care? So yeah, your pastor says a lot about your church. You know, I love the pastor that I have. I think that's one of the main reasons I drive an hour to this church, because this pastor, he leads by example. You know, he's not a lord over anyone, but at the same time, if there's something getting out of hand and he's made aware of it, he will address it, you know, with that person personally. If you have questions about doctrinal things, he won't sit and argue with you. He'll listen to you and he go, and then I don't know if it'll be that Sunday or the next Sunday, he'll be preaching on it. You know, and he'll open the Word of God and he'll tell you what the Word of God says, because he don't want to get in arguments. He don't want to get in you know, he said he's learned over the years not to do that. And he said a pastor showed him that this is how you deal with it. It says you preach on it the following Sunday, you know, and yeah. I just learned this. It is important to get in a church where the pastor is running. I don't want to say he's running the church, but he's holding the church accountable to the Word of God, and how we should be as a church and how we should go about things, and definitely one of them is not that we run people away from the church, right? But if you say people are being run away from the church because you preach on certain things and they don't want to commit to that, and they make their own decisions to leave, and you know they don't want to repent, they don't want to change, they don't want to do anything, then so be it. Then they can leave. You know, it's not that I want them to, but I don't. I'll tell you what I don't want is something coming in our church and corrupting the little children and stuff like that. You start letting these people that don't have this stuff and they start coming to church. I know I learned this. People in there telling dirty jokes behind the baptistry, you know, sexual things going on. I mean, all kinds of stuff, you know, because there is no, how can I say it? There is no discipline, no conviction, no preaching towards that or anything. No stance on anything. You know, it's like, as long as you accepted Jesus, we're good. You know?
Well, that's the thing. Well, that's the problem. Like, apparently they didn't. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I can't say anything about how to deal with such a thing, because I'm not. I mean, there was a time when I was married and went to church regularly, and it's almost like another planet thinking about it now. Mm-hmm. And just and dealing with people, because I mean, there was a point where we took her niece to church regularly. Like we went and did these things. We went to the events. I was on the worship team. We taught Sunday school. Me and my wife taught Sunday school. Like in events where somebody, you know, there wasn't a lot of if somebody had done something or people weren't, but there wasn't a lot of judgment though as far as that goes, because it was very free atmosphere. But there wasn't anybody that was overtly sexual. There wasn't anybody that was overtly. I mean, if anything, they kept that stuff under the rug. So that's the thing. That's where it's like I don't feel like my experience. Like I feel like I the few churches I went to, I think were decent when it came down to that sort of thing. Because there's a few different things. There's the social aspect, which is like one of the least important aspects. However, it is an important aspect. But it's also the matter of teaching. If they're a good teacher, that's important. But the fellowship part of it and the worship part of it is another aspect. And this is where the things that need to be kept in balance. Because like the worship aspect of it, like, you know, if like one church, the worship service, which as far as I'm concerned is the singing mostly. The singing, and I would even include the part where they say, and this is the part that I don't like, unfortunately, but where they say everybody say good morning to each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's done at every church, right?
I mean, our church does that. Yeah, we're very welcoming anyway, though. I mean, we're
every
very
church I've ever gone to, they always have the let's take 5 minutes to say good morning after we've already settled down and sit down, and then they'll give the announcements of like, all right, well, everybody sit down. I'll be like, oh man, didn't we just do that? Because I don't like talking to people.
Well, it's like
Well, that's not true.
with my disability, I miss church quite often, a lot more than I ever would want to. And so when I'm there, I really felt that I missed everyone there. You know what I mean? I hate missing church, because I've learned that is a big part of our Christian walk, is fellowshipping with one another and learning how to live with one another and learning how to help one another and how to deal with things with one another. See, I don't believe in kicking people out because they made a mistake, because they did something wrong. I believe in edifying them, and showing them in scripture and giving them the opportunity and the time to do, to get right with the Lord and to come into this growth. I don't believe in, well, you did this, you're out, but I do believe in addressing things, whenever, especially if it's become where it's, I guess one little piece is starting to affect the whole lump.
All right. Well, that's the difference between it being somebody who's in the ministry or somebody who's a member of the ministry or somebody who's just a person that shows up there to be ministered to.
But we have a lot of elderly people in our church, and I know they have things that they deal with, and I think that they enjoy the fact that they know that I'm dealing with a lot, and a lot of people don't ever confront me, are you okay and this and that, because I'm too busy concerned about everybody else when I get in church, because I know the last time I spoke with them, they were dealing with stuff and they got a lot going on, and and it's sort of like you want to catch up, and some of them I keep in touch with on the phone, especially the ones that are, if they get ill or anything like that, because I just think if we don't do this, then the world's going to be there to do it. I think that's so important, to be invested with your congregation, with the church, and to keep a watchful eye, not to be lords over, not to be their boss or to demand things or to, but to actually edify them, and I don't think I'm always the one that has to edify. Actually, I need to be edified, more probably so than they do. I need to be corrected. I need to be rebuked. And it's almost like when we're in the military, they taught us one thing. They say, you don't know it. He said, but a man needs rules. He might act like he don't want the rules, but a man needs rules. He needs a standard. He needs a guide. He needs, there needs to be order. There needs to be, these are things that are good.
Well, no, that's one of the principles I was just reading about, as far as, what and how do you know, like that, as far as experience, bitterness, unless you're how do you understand what the whole aspect of bitterness versus unless you've had sweetness, like this sort of thing, or vice versa, or light versus dark,
Yeah, you have to give them room to grow. You can't just, that's where I would say sometimes some churches, and I don't want to say that they're just fundamentalists, but they don't understand that part, but yet they understand it for themselves. And to me, that's
most people.
That's kind of like a hypocrite to me.
Yeah, most people are hypocrites. Everybody's a hypocrite. That's the problem. Everybody is. So just as much as somebody is Italian, and they really want to, eat Italian cooking, even though it's like, well, it's not healthy and you got to get healthy and what's better for you, but you're still going to take after your old ways. Hypocrisy is
yeah, it's sort of like, I went through all that I went through in my addiction, right? And somehow I never got caught.
It's how you deal with it.
Yeah, somehow I never got caught. And then I heard about this ministry that I'm involved with now, and there were people that they were bringing in out of jail. And the more I kept going in there and talking to these guys and looking at them, I started realizing just because I didn't get caught doesn't mean I didn't deserve what they got. You know, I deserved to be in jail. I deserved for the things I did. And if that didn't happen to me, the worst thing that I could ever do is be a hypocrite towards someone that is in jail or look down on them in such a way. But no, I want to edify them, tell them about Christ so they can come out of that. You know, and they can get their second chance, and they can, have a chance to, get back with their families and get things right. And I just look at it, the fact that I didn't go into jail for the things that if I would ever got caught, I would have been in there just as deep as them, that I like to tell them that I deserve worse than they did, when I'm going to teach them. And I said, and that's one of the things that compels me is that I don't think of myself any better than you when you're sitting here just coming out of jail, because I know they're feeling like that. And I don't.
What are you talking about? Are you about congregants? Or are you talking about people that are coming out or it's the same thing?
These are people that had drug problems and did stupid crap. Did
like everybody. That's the thing with a church. You got families. I mean, because that's the thing. That's why I keep talking about the difference between the locality of a place. Because I know I finally started. Well, we finally went for one walk again. Looking at all these houses and these people living in them, like, not guaranteeing most of the people don't go to a church. Or like, what do they do? Like, they don't do anything. But it's like, if they did do something, where would they go? Like, it's like for all these churches that are around here, I guarantee, there's just a set few of people. But the people that do go there, they're not going there for scholarship. No. I guarantee that 90% of them are going there out of custom, tradition, habit, or now going down the spectrum, familial obligation, something to do with the family. Oh, what did we do? Oh, what did my family do when we were a kid? Oh, we went to this church there. Let's just do that, or like that's all we know what to do, or something like that. Or they know somebody. Again, there's not a lot of reasons to just go to church and just go with it, because that's the thing. Like back in the day, especially back in the 1800s, everybody went. Because if you didn't go, it'd be like, oh, that's the guy that doesn't go to church, Well,
there's people in the mob that went to a Catholic church. They'd have their children christened and all that and they would pay up to the church, a lot of money. And I mean, they would say they were devout Catholics, to some extent, and they were mobsters.
Right. That's where I imagine, like,
that's when something's wrong.
I don't imagine. I can completely visualize it. The time of Christianity, like what I was talking about with Irenaeus, where he talks about people that come in that are considered, we consider them brethren. He referred, I don't remember what words he used specifically, but pretty much my impression was that you consider them a brethren based on their word,
right,
and then on their action. But if they're not, then the Bible says what to do. But again, a lot of this stuff is going to be situational, because again, if it's just like, oh, a friend of yours, or somebody you meet, like what I don't know what the internet like this is considered the equivalent to, other than literally standing around in a public forum,
right.
Which there's not many things that are analogous to that. Next to we're just going in each other's houses and talking, and in that sense, the stuff that like praise does and that sort of thing would be analogous with a home fellowship in that particular way. I mean, the internet as a medium is a whole.
I don't have a problem with praise at all. Like I said, I love Tom, but some of the decisions, some of the silliness, and some of the lack of order, and some of the things, some of the things that just go on in there.
Sure. Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing.
It just seems I can't. I don't know. I can't.
It's something that. Well, I think if anything, it's more. I don't think. I honestly don't think it's something that in that case specifically, that he does purposefully in order to like consciously say, oh, I'm gonna I'm going to act like this to try to bridge the gap between the world and the way they act. And I don't think he's trying to do that. Like in that regard, like I think it's just something that happens, unless you're diligent. Because I'm not saying I would be any better if I had, that kind of thing. Because I know how. I mean, just having like 2 people or 3 people get on at the same time for me at some point. Like I remember just being like, oh man, I can't like trying to look at the chat, trying to make sure it gets crazy.
I don't know. Maybe because I'm older, and these guys are younger too. I consider all these things. But at the same time, I look at it like I'm making an offering to the Lord in my servitude to him to be fruitful with God. And if I offer this offering and say, Lord, this is the work, that you were the foundation and I went from the foundation and these are my works I built upon this, will they be burnt up? Or will they be like gold, where they can't be burnt up? And then the work is, I think it's an individual offering. I don't think it's something that because of the results, if the foundation was right and the results are wrong, or bad fruit, then it isn't the problem with the foundation. It isn't the problem with the servitude or the ministry. It was just that individual didn't want to commit to anything, whatever it may be. But when it's what you're offering, individually unto the Lord, are you okay with how you're going about things? Do you go that far to look at things, how you're doing things, and being a representative and ambassador to the Lord? Like I say, first, you're a Christian no matter what. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're just going to work. It doesn't matter. You're to be as someone that Christ is walking in and being a representative of him. Are you minded of that? Is that something that is a priority with you? And I had to learn to grow into this, and I didn't to an older age. So I would be a hypocrite to say that it has to happen at a certain time, certain age. I'm not saying that, but I do feel that there's a need to consider these things, at least. But I'm older, and I have a lot of patience for understanding for people that are younger and coming up in the world that we're coming up in, and all the influence and all the things that are coming at us. And that's why I think the unity in Christ is more necessary than anything, as a priority.
Well, that's what I was saying about like the different. I mean, it's going to be different roles. I mean, there's one in Christ. That's what. I mean, that's what's got to be frustrating. I mean, again, when you have the mom, the soccer mom, and the kids, and the dad, and the grandparents, and the grandkids, all this kind of stuff. That versus the relationship of quote unquote going to church, for most people is a very like antiseptic thing. It's just very and that's fine for South. I mean, I think that's, well, I mean, in general, again, I think the Lord works with what he's got.
Right.
So, well, like I said, most people aren't great scholars, and they're not, because for me, I want to go to a church and I want to hear great exposition on the scripture. I want to hear, but again, that's not all there is to it. There's also, like I saw the worship. What is, most churches have 20 minutes of, if that, of music. Like that's worship. And most of the music, man, the music is a pet peeve of mine, let me tell you. So anyway, I don't want to go off on that. The music is its own thing, but that's a whole different thing, is worshiping God. But you know what? We do know. You want to just do another? You want to do a stream right now? You want to do a stream and read the Didache? You know what the Didache is?
No.
So it's one of the earliest Christian writings ever found. It was actually found in like the 1880s. And it's funny because some of the stuff it says in there actually contradicts a lot of the heretical, Christian cults that popped up around the 1820s, right?
Right.
And the dedicate pops up. It's like, oh yeah, no, this is what. There are arguments of whatever, but I mean, it's considered legit. But what got me thinking of it is because here is a document, and there's a couple other pieces of evidence that's basically just showing what Christian worship meant. Like the way Christians, and the Didache is basically a pretty short. I mean, it's not like a huge, giant, massive thing like the against heresies or anything. It's like a couple paragraphs all together, but it's like a list of just things that Christians are expected to act like, and it's from like the year. Hold on, let me see what year it's. I want to say like 120, like before, like right around the time of Paul, or right after time. I mean, not Paul, John. It's crazy to think. What got me like that? A lot of the people that are being mentioned that started a lot of these heresies in Irenaeus they're already long dead by the time Irenaeus is talking about them. They were alive at the time of John. Like they were alive at the time of before the book of Revelation was even written, right? Like, so you have the book of Revelation written even while heresies have already popped up that had names. That's crazy to think about.
It is.
And then John wrote stuff in there because according to Irenaeus, a lot of the stuff written, he doesn't just say about John writing it against specific heretics. He says the Holy Spirit, like all of them, even the prophets. It'd be like the Holy Spirit anticipating these exact heretics put this stuff here,
Right. Yeah, I remember right after I was filled with the Holy Spirit and I come back to the Lord and fellowship with the Lord. The Holy Spirit come in my heart, man, and in my life like never before. And I remember I was just really going out, and just anybody that I seen or talked to, I looked at it as an opportunity to tell them what the Lord's done, the great things He's done in my life, and to share with them the gospel and to help them, in their time of need. And I never had that before. I just had this thing where I would get up and go to church on Sunday and read the Bible from time to time. And, I got involved in that bus ministry, and that was probably the biggest thing I did. But there was a lot of times all I was doing was getting in the bus on Sunday and driving and picking them up and dropping them off. That's pretty much what it was. And then, but this time I started getting involved in people's life. And I ran into this one person that they were at the emergency room. Actually, I went up there for a reason. And when I was coming out, this person was crying and stuff, and they were hurting.
Do you want to do this?
What's that?
Do you want to do it another stream?
Sure. But anyway, it led down to, I thought the Lord was sending me to this person because they were a drug addict and all this. And come to find out, she's living with her mother, and she's taking advantage of her mother. They're living in a hotel. And I kept up with them for a while because I was worried about her mother, and she had to go to doctor's appointments, and her daughter was stealing money from her and all kinds of stuff. It was bad. And her mother claimed to be a Christian. And so we ended up, one day I kept trying to help her, and then she wanted to stay with her daughter. She had a hard time, breaking apart from her, but it got to where her daughter just wasn't going to change, and she's just going to keep on keeping on to what she's doing. And I was trying to protect her because she was getting old. And she was actually, dude, it was so bad that this woman was she was a hooker, and she would bring her clients in a little small trailer where her mom was right there. And her mom was being exposed to all these things. And when I heard that, man, I just said, listen, pack your stuff up. I'm coming to get you. You're going to stay with me. And when I went over there to get her, this is what changed me. And I'm not saying I wasn't already changed then, but it really enforced something in me. this woman looked at me, and dude, she had this. If I ever said that there was somebody that was possessed, I would say this woman was the closest thing. If it was true, she was the closest thing that I ever seen in real life like this. And we had got everything in my truck, and we were making the last load, and that's when she pulled up, and she started cussing and fussing at me, you know, saying, "What are you doing taking my mother away?" and all this, blah, 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 blah. And I said, "I'm not taking her away." I said, "I'm trying to help her." And anyway, she said, with this real evil voice, man, she said, how did she say it? I can't remember the exact words, but the end of it was this, is she said, "Man of God."
Yeah, I remember you telling me about this.
And dude, the way she said it, and then you know what it instilled in me though? I never thought about me being a man of God in that way. Like I mean, not that I didn't think of it, but it just kind of made it profound, you know?
Right.
And then I started saying, man, there's a lot of things I need to change. And if I am saying I'm representing God, then I need to get my act together, you know? If I am making these kind of moves, but I was young, you know, and I believe this, I truly believe this, Kelby, you got to leave room for growth, even with churches. You know, you can't just from the get-go just condemn it because things are wrong. You got to come in and be willing to edify, you know, and come in, be willing to build up and give time for this and have patience and really just give it to the Lord. And